Michelangelo was a painter, sculptor, and architect, and throughout his career, he worked from sketches.
We get the sense from these drawings that he had everything very well planned out before he started to paint.
Emily Peters is one of the curators of Michelangelo Mind of the Master. The exhibition features a couple dozen of Michelangelo's drawings, alongside replicas of some of his masterpieces, including the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel in Italy.
So on the back of this sheet, it's just an array of different limbs and figures, and you can see that Michelangelo would rotate the sheet. He was, working very swiftly probably and thinking through some of the different figures on the ceiling. This hand right here, this arm and this hand, those correspond to the very famous scene on the ceiling of God creating Adam. And that is God's hand, which you can see here.
No pressure. You want to get the hand of God right.
You want to get the hand of God right. He practiced it many times.
On the other side of the paper, Michelangelo drew the figure of a muscular male nude, and he worked out the details of the body in motion down to the flexed toes.
Two of the drawings for the Sistine Chapel that we have are for figures called ignudi, which is an Italian word meaning nude man. These were very important compositional elements in the Sistine Chapel, but they didn't have any narrative significance. Michelangelo used them to kind of punctuate the narrative scenes in the middle of the chapel. And his contemporaries were completely astounded by these figures.
Michelangelo's focus on the human figure continues to influence art today.
He was working at a time when artists generally did not study anatomy yet, and also at a time when, though artists would sketch from live models, they often didn't sketch from nude models. Both of those things are really key, even to this day, to art education.
So which is this drawing here?
So this is one of two drawings in the exhibition for a commission for a fresco called the Battle of Cascina. And it was his first big fresco commission for the city of Florence. It was a commission that he never completed. However, what we do have are these wonderful preparatory drawings. And it was a moment when he's bringing his vision of the heroic male nude to a wide public.
It's such a muscular, physical drawing, and that he might look like he's about to race into battle, but it's almost comical when you see the whole picture. Mm-hmm. He's not in battle yet. He's racing from Bath.
Right. So Michelangelo's concept for this fresco was that it was a great battle between Florence and Pisa, but he was portraying the moment when the soldiers were called to battle and they were caught in the River Arno taking a bath. So this really played to his strengths because he could focus on the nude male figure and kind of the rushing aspect of getting ready for battle.
These drawings have never been seen together in the United States, and they once belonged to a queen. How did these get preserved over the years to now be on view today?
Well, it's really interesting. There are not very many drawings by Michelangelo that still exist, but we do know that this group of drawings was in the collection of Queen Christina of Sweden. She was a very interesting woman who abdicated her throne in the 17th century and moved to Rome. And she loved Italian art, and then throughout the centuries those albums were sold to various collectors, and in 1790 they were sold to the Tylers Museum, which is a museum in Haarlem in the Netherlands, and they've been in that museum ever since, which is one of the reasons they're so well preserved today and are still together as a group.
He was using these drawings 500 years ago as working tools. He never would have imagined probably that we'd be looking and walking through an exhibition of his drawings.
That is true. In fact, he was quite secretive. He knew that other artists were very interested in his design ideas. He was famous even in his own day, and artists in particular wanted to see his drawings because it was in his drawings where he was showing some of his invention. And so he actually came to burn large quantities of his drawings during his life. We assume, based on the way he worked, that he must have made tens of thousands of drawings during his long 88 years. However, today there are only 600 drawings remaining. In 1517, he asked a servant specifically to burn his drawings from the Sistine Chapel ceiling. So the ones we have today are really precious. And you're right, he wouldn't have expected them to be on view in an exhibition like this.
Was it standard for artists to burn their work at this time?
Not at all. It was quite unusual, and I think it goes back to perhaps the particular personality of the artist, who was quite guarded about his work, and I think with some justification felt that others wanted to look at and maybe take his ideas.